On this episode of the Mack Talks, we have Scott Snell on the show. He's a director of photography with over 28 years of working experience in the video production industry. His credits range from short films to network television. His work has been seen around the world on such networks as NFL, MLB, NASCAR, Netflix, Fox, the Olympics, and more. He recently won an Emmy. Yes, a freaking Emmy for his work on ESPN 2018 U.S. Open Tennis Championship. We're excited to have him on. Let's go. Chase, tell the people what the Mack Talks are.
If you're an entrepreneur, impactful leader, or business owner, the Mack Talks are that vehicle that brings you the stories that you need to hear.
That's right, real stories from real leaders. Check us out every Thursday. Scott, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, I've been a huge fan of your work. You do some amazing work. We got a mutual buddy between us.
Yes, that's right.
Good old Matt.
Good old Matt.
Yep. Which you just call Bart. He's not even Matt anymore. He's just Bart. But how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me out. And I know we tried to get this going a good month and a half ago. And
yeah, but you got a lot of college football to shoot and get done, right?
Yeah, it's been a crazy season, and my whole season changed. I wasn't really looking to have a slammed fall like I did this year, but I got a call literally about 2.5 weeks before I start doing the U.S. Open, which I've done for 19 years. And,
yeah.
So I was looking to do the U.S. Open, a few one-off games here and there throughout the fall, maybe some NFL, stuff like that. Nothing crazy. And a buddy of mine that I've worked with at ESPN forever, he's a longtime friend of mine, Mike Foss, and he called me up and said, "Hey, you still doing any work for Skycam?" And I said, "No, not really." He was like, "Great, because we have a new system coming in that they were looking at. It's called Omnicam.
Yeah,
they're a great company if you do the research."
So Skycam is the unit that is on the cables.
Yes,
and it gets those awesome shots.
Yeah.
And when did that really kind of start? NFL was the first one to do it, or
well, not really.
It was in more of the.
I'll take you way back.
Go ahead.
I'll take you way back. So I was at the '96 Olympics in Atlanta.
Yep.
And I was running a couple of different robotic cameras that were mounted up in trusses in the ceiling. So I did men's and women's gymnastics at the Georgia Dome.
Yep.
And this system next to me, these guys come in and they install the early version of Skycam, which was developed by Garrett Brown, Steadicam operator. And so back then, it was his gig.
Yeah.
And he had
his baby.
Had all sorts of things there that year. He had Moby Dive, Track Cam, the Skycam, and I mean, he had all these different things. I mean, he had a shirt that said the Moving Motion Picture Company.
Yeah.
And he had all his rigs listed down the back. I was fortunate enough to get one of those t-shirts.
Yeah, right.
I still have it somewhere. But anyway, Skycam was being developed back then. And while the concept of it, I was watching these guys do it, and I was like, this is so cool, but it was constantly, I mean, the software would crash and it would hang up. And so you didn't know what to think about it, but when it was on, it was really cool. It was like, wow, this is pretty wild. But you hard to take in that whole concept.
Yeah.
So a few years later, I was kind of chasing them a little bit, and I decided. I was talking with a buddy of mine, and he said, "Well, you know what? I know Garrett pretty well. Let me put your name in the hat." And so I emailed out who I was supposed to email, and I got almost an immediate response because I do jibs and things like that, and a lot of robotic work. And so they were very interested in talking to me, and they brought me in. It was, I'll tell you, it was trial by fire. You were thrown right into it, and there was some training, but it was a steep learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
And
it's just a good thing that they go to that camera for just some a quick highlight. It's never really during. Well, but now more and more they're introducing it more to like the in game, but it's not. It's always highlights mainly. Though.
Yeah. Well, it's they are taking a lot of live snaps or live cuts with it now because of its reliability and things like that. And I was fortunate to kind of get in on that system fairly early, and there were only 3 or 4 systems in the United States. So you were, this isn't for lack of a better word, you were an elitist.
Yeah.
In terms of there's very few systems, so you would learn it and grow with it. And so obviously the first super practical purpose for it was football.
Yeah.
And the other competing system at the time was cable cam, and that was developed by Jim Radunsky, who was another genius. And cable cam was the same not the same mousetrap, different mousetrap, same result.
Yeah.
And that they were really the first ones to make the mark in NFL and football, and then Skycam kind of followed up and started doing it. And they're the rigs are incredibly drastically different, because cable cam was 3 winches redirected, and the camera rig was basically a flying West Cam or Sequoia system, and very heavy, so 114, 120 pounds.
Takes a while to get that baby moving.
Yeah, so it's a lot more sluggish, but because of its extreme stability in the gyros and stuff that were inside of the unit, you could chase with the lens and move the camera at the same time. So it had added a huge dynamic to what they were seeing. And Skycam was very agile, fast. So it didn't have as long a lens, but it was still very stable, so you could chase with the whole rig.
Yeah.
And be in the action as opposed to be pushing into the action. A more natural thing to be running behind something than, you can't zoom in with your eyes, but you can walk towards something, and
so
that makes a lot more sense.
A lot of the work that you're doing now is mainly with the newer system that you're talking about?
Omnicam.
Omnicam.
And they're a
how's
good bunch
that-
of guys.
how's that
I'll
run?
tell you, it was it's interesting. As I said, I got a call from Mike, and he said, well, would you be interested? And I talked to him. We caught up on things, and I've known him he was one of the first directors I ever worked with at ESPN. And so he said, would you be willing to give this a try? I said, sure. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And so the guys contact me. They're a company called Media Pro, and they are kind of ESPN's equivalent in Europe. And then there's Omnicam. So Omnicam's based out of Portugal.
Okay.
And I mean, they make really great stuff. And but as comparing, you can't get away from comparing a new system to other systems. Like, oh, well, it's different than this, and which is kind of good, because you're already kind of deep seated in the knowledge of how something works. So it's kind of like, if you drove a Pinto one week and then hopped into a Ferrari, well, they're both going to go. Yeah. But one's got a lot more bells and whistles than the other, and
take turns a little sharper.
Right. So, I jumped on board with these guys, and it's an impressive system. It's not in comparison to the other flying camera systems that are out there. It's what's a good way to say it? It's not. If you saw all the stuff that you would have to haul around for Skycam, and then saw the footprint for Omni, I couldn't believe it the day the truck pulled up. I was like, this is it.
This is it? They just handed you a briefcase?
Yeah. Well, I wish it was like that.
No.
But it was a considerably smaller footprint. And, having worked with it since, I guess the end of August, and now this is coming into week 13, on the system. And I pilot the system. I don't run the camera.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
It's a 2-man operated system. Yeah. So there's a pilot and an operator, and we have a good guy, Doug.
You got to obviously have the skills, because you got to put it in the position. So you
Yeah.
still have to be which you are, which is good.
Yeah, and because I did both for the other systems, so it was easy to, as much as it's difficult. Okay, being a camera operator, it's almost like if you gave someone a camera, and you kind of have the eye, and you want a certain shot and how it's moving, and you have to rely on someone else to get it to that spot.
Yeah, that's tough.
And being a camera operator myself, I have to be a little bit more forgiving, because I can't do everything that I want to do. So what you can do is pass along your knowledge. Doug is a great guy. He is a Media Pro employee, and they picked him to he told me he was on his boat on Saturday night, and the next day he was on the plane to come and train on it. And,
maybe he got the same phone call.
Yeah,
you got.
Kind of.
It's like, no, I'm all set. Yeah, okay, great. We'll
least
pick you up
mine
tomorrow.
was a week and a half before his.
Exactly, right? That's funny.
He hasn't done a ton of live sports, but he's a great camera operator.
Yeah.
And so all I could do is say, hey, this is like nothing you've ever done before.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yep.
I know you run jibs. I know you do robotics and Steadicams. He flies drones too and things like that. And I said, but trust me when I tell you, this is a whole different
animal.
Yeah. And it's been progressively great because he's into it. You know, he's totally concentrated, and you don't know where you're going to end up after, you know, a few weeks. And we've become a
you get better and better.
Gelled team where we're not talking. The less you talk, the better you're getting.
Yeah, because then you know where you need to be and things like that.
And football's it's a good game because it's forced. You know, you're following the action. You kind of know where you have to be. The toughest part is not getting faked out. You know, and people ask me that all the time throughout my career.
The RPO.
Yeah,
especially with college, because college they run all kinds of tricky stuff, right?
God, Wildcats, the double pass. I mean, it's like and you're in a moving platform, so you can't always turn on a dime.
Yep.
And I, you know, if we got faked out, you know, Doug would get frustrated, or I would get frustrated because I got faked out.
Yeah.
And I always fall back on. A lot of people ask me this over the years, because I do regular camera. I did cart and low end zone and stuff for NFL for a long time. I still do.
Yeah.
And the funny part of it is, everybody's like, well, how do you get faked out? I'm like, they're designing these plays to fake people out that are 4 feet away from them.
Yeah.
Guaranteed I'm going to get faked out when I'm 25, 30 yards away and looking through.
Hide the ball.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's the whole point.
From behind and everything like that. I said, so you kind of got to let it go, because if you keep worrying about the last thing, you're not ready for the next thing.
Yeah,
so you just
that's
kind
true.
of plow through it, and you make your mistakes, and there isn't a cameraman out there
that hasn't
been faked out.
Isn't it crazy how much entertainment has pushed technology?
Oh,
like it's almost like you expect technological advancements to come out of universities or, you know, scientists, professors, people who are actually like teaching this stuff, but it comes out of like somebody who wants to make a movie better, or somebody who wants to make the playoffs more like, you know, the camera work in the playoff maybe more dynamic or something. You know what I mean? I've always been blown away by that.
And I think what drove this is, you know, coming from the mind of Garrett Brown. And, you know, if you're a fan of his work, he's the Steadicam guy. He got that whole thing going. One of his most famous Steadicam shots is in The Shining. You know, he's like, that's a lot of Steadicam work. So he goes way back. And so, you know, when you have a mind like that, he wants to constantly keep it going and add this dynamic to it without having to cut. It's probably been my most frustrating aspect, is with a moving camera doing jib and robotics and things like that, and especially this platform, there's a payoff to this. So when you start a move and you have your frame and you're trying to sell this move, so a director on a live broadcast would be, all right, set up that shot. I like it. Scott, that's great. Perfect. Wait. And then, all right, go jib, go. And you start going, and he doesn't cut to you. And by the time he gets to you, the move is gone. Yeah. And it's so frustrating. So a lot of times, you know, you hear the false caller say, all right, start your move, and you won't start it. Yeah. And they'll start barking at you a little bit more. Come on, start to move. And you purposely hold it off and you force it so that when he comes to you, the move is there. Yeah. You know, and that's just that's a feel. And that's one of the most frustrating. I think any jib op, any moving camera op will tell you, is if a director's too early on something, why? Why have it? Why have it move? If you're catching it at the very end of the move, it's like, let it pay off. Yeah. You know, people are savvy enough at home where they're not, you know, like, oh wow, that's the most amazing shot ever. But you like that. That's why movies are shot the way they are. And, and there's, you know, foreground elements that give more attention to the elements that you're supposed to be, but it gives you more sense of place. Yeah. And gives you objects and elements that you're supposed to. It gives a feel, you know, and as if, you know, when you're watching someone, if you walking, let's say, just down a path, and you spot someone through a thin brush of trees or a thin, you know, growth of trees, you're looking through those trees. That's why you see those angles in movies all the time, to create that movement. And as you would see it with the naked eye, it doesn't always have to be a perfectly clean frame, but that mind of Garrett Brown was exactly that. I mean, and that's, you know, he wanted to keep his images moving, pleasing, and add, you know, a dynamic and keep your interest, you know, keep you attached to what you're watching. So.
And I know that you do obviously, and we've spoke about a lot with sports and stuff, but I see that you do a lot of stuff on the Hudson.
I do. Yeah.
And obviously you're a natural artist besides, you can tell by your work and your photography and stuff. I think it's amazing, which is great because it's like, I love the fact that you're able to do sports because I love sports.
Right.
But then I also appreciate the art of what you do as well. Which I think is awesome. So tell us a little bit about that side of your career a little bit, if you could.
That's kind of funny. Being involved in video for, almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
And I got into the business through, it was a crazy story. Maybe I'll get to that later. But,
yeah.
I had been so engrossed in video and moving images for so long, and I always have loved photography, don't get me wrong. But photography back in the day was expensive. It was pricey. I mean, I used to do black and white stuff and develop and do things like that. But I don't anymore. You kind of lose that. I lost it. I won't say everybody does, but I got away from it because I so much more wanted to capture moving images. And then the digital realm hit. Mm-hmm. So we started getting digital cameras. I mean, I remember one of the first Sonys. And I'm a Sony guy, I admit it. And just to preface this for anybody that might be listening, it's like, oh, he's Sony. I'm a Canon guy. I don't want to listen to him. I love all cameras.
Yeah,
They
right.
all work great. It's like I say about a lot of things. They're all great. They have their pluses. They have their minuses. You just got to find the one that you like.
Yeah, that works for you.
Yeah, and I've been a Sony guy for so long, their menus haven't changed over the years that much. And where other people might come from Canon or Panasonic or something like that and be like, what are they thinking putting this menu here? And
yeah, you're just used to it.
I'm used to it, and I would be as lost on any Canon if you put that in my hand or any other camera. You just gotta learn it, and once you do, it's all good. But so when the digital realm came out, one of the first Sonys I bought was like a 1.4, 1.5 megapixel camera.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It had an articulating lens, like the body rotated so you could do like high angles, and it was great. And I remember having the memory. I think the memory card that I put in it was 16 megabytes.
Yeah,
it was like the max. And
wow.
And you're like, now you look back at that, and that can't even. That's
the
not even
cell phone is
thumbnail.
more. A cell phone is probably. It's tenfold of what that camera could do.
Oh,
just a
easily.
cell phone.
The new iPhone could do like
it's
right.
It's
like,
crazy.
Yeah,
it is totally crazy. I mean, I was shooting. I was on a movie set like 2 weeks ago, and I just rolled a clip on what we were shooting. So it was kind of like a BTS, but I kind of kept the frame clean, and then I showed it to the other DP, and he was like, "Would you transfer this from your camera?" I was like, "No, I shot it right with my cell phone." And he was like, "You're kidding me." I'm like,
wow.
Crazy. I said, shoot this whole thing on the cell phone. Let's
see what it looks like. Yeah.
I mean, and people have tackled that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's cool.
And people are, that's the craze. I don't know if you remember it. It's a good reference though. There's a commercial, and you would think, being such a good commercial, I'd remember what it was. But there was a girl, and she's sitting on the couch, and she gets this present, and it's this great camera, and she's looking at it, and she's like, "Oh my God, this is fantastic! Thank you so much." But how do you make a phone call?
Yeah,
and it's so funny, because you would think that telephone technology is really what they're after, but they're not. It's about having a device with you at all times that you can look at what we've become. I mean, we're
cyborg almost. That's where
we're
going.
We are recording our lives with a device that's with us all the time, or something. And people get into getting into the drone thing a little bit, and I don't want that up there spying. I mean, I always say to them, listen, you shouldn't be worried about that drone flying over your house.
There's a
you
lot
should be
more
worried
other
about
things.
the other 30,000 cameras you rolled through on a daily basis.
That's why I said it's literally going to be, if it's not already, with these Nest or with what is it? Is it Nest, or what's the thing in the doorbell? With that Ring.
One of them's called
Ring.
With the so even before it was probably it was getting to be very easy anyway, just to find people from the cameras that the government, just in general, people that have.
I know.
But now when you roll in those things, you literally can see how somebody got from one point to one point, and that's not even anything that complicated. We're not even talking about tracking cell phones or anything like that.
You're absolutely right.
So it's like It's funny because I always say, like, the days of being able to try to get away with things, like, they're almost over because everything is going to be on video. Like, it was the end of a game when Richard Sherman said that Baker, I think Baker Mayfield or somebody, I can't remember who it was, wouldn't shake his hand, and then they found footage of it. It's like, you can't nowadays. You can't.
That's so
you
funny.
got to be real careful nowadays of the things that you say. So
and do, I guess, because
Yeah.
you're being recorded everywhere. You can't move an inch. I mean, I would love if you could just put into, I say love in a very forgiving way on this.
Yeah, right.
You just kind of type in, if you had a number kind of assigned to you, to your DNA or something like that, and you just type it in, and it would pull up any image that was ever captured of you throughout your life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would be surprised at how many times that they thought they were by themselves, secluded, nobody knew they were there,
And that's what goes hand in hand with what you were just saying. Don't worry about this drone.
Yeah.
Because honestly, this drone is just going for my little piece. Your picture is probably all over the freaking place. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like,
absolutely.
It's the same with everything. It's recording you. Like audio gets recorded, video gets recorded. All your messages that are being sent. You know what I mean? Everything's being spied on.
You're by your cell phone listening to things you say, and then oddly enough, you have a conversation with someone about something, and then
all of a sudden it shows
talking
up.
about some music, and all of a sudden your music.
So we attend a lot of digital marketing expos and stuff because it's what we do here at Mack Media.
Sure.
And it's so funny because a lot of these guys, they'll get up there and they'll be like, your cell phone is not listening to you. This is not listening to you. And it's just like, it's so hilarious because that's the same thing as the doctor telling you that this drug is not going to give you this side. Don't worry about that because he's in bed with them and they're in bed. You know what I mean?
So exactly.
It's like,
in that long list of side effects that they list.
What's he going to do? Put the product down and be like, yeah, this thing's listening to you. No one should buy them. Of course they're going to say that. But these are people that are like, they're not from they're not from Amazon. These are just the people that are within inside of the industry. But I know for a fact that that's what it does. I mean, this guy.
How could it not? I mean, if you have a phone, whether you're Android or iPhone or Apple, I mean, if you have your Hey Siri thing turned on.
Yep. Even then, even if you don't,
it's just constant listen, and people don't understand that. So the Amazon, what is the
Echo or the
Alexa
at
home, or I have the HomePod,
the Google
I have
Home,
the Apple HomePod, and whatever ones are out there.
There's so many,
anytime you speak, tell it
taking
something, or even if you're not talking to it, it's
keeping track of it.
It's oozing this data. You're oozing data to it, and whether that data is important or not, I mean, who knows who's getting this? That's the whole the data collection is this a Big Brother thing? You know, and I just say, I've been one to always embrace technology, and I'm not trying to get anybody paranoid. I mean, if you want to stay on top of that curve, so be it. But it's just the way things are advancing, and whether that makes the world better
But it goes to what you said, though. Don't worry about the drone.
Yeah.
Same thing with with the people that would say things like, "Oh, I don't trust buying things on the internet." Your credit card was on the internet, so like you don't have to.
Yeah. Right.
Guess what? When they hack Target and you swipe your card at the thing, I mean, I think everybody knows that now, but for a while that's how it was. So.
It's a great point too. And a lot of people say, really, you buy things off the internet? I said, do you have online banking? They're like, yeah. Okay, what's the difference?
Yeah, there's no difference.
Different encryption, maybe some extra security protocols. I think you'd be surprised at how advanced most online buying experiences as far as data encryption is. But you're always going to find some knucklehead, why I call him a knucklehead, some genius or super invested, I'm going to crack this site for reasons of not good, or to get to get his pocket lined with more dollars. I mean, and they hire people to do that too for organizations. So, I mean, I tenfold on technology and trackability and how we got on this topic, who knows? But
I know. It comes down to drones, and it comes down to, you know what I mean. But go ahead,
And so I had kind of come back to finding my roots in photography again, and even still, I think what did it is about almost 7 years ago now with drones is that when I started flying these cameras around, I had done Monday Night Football for 3-4 years, and when I stopped doing that, it was an epiphany. It was kind of crazy how I decided this. Why would I not be doing this? I was on my computer looking something up, I think for a GoPro, and because they were starting to get big, and I was having a lot of fun doing time lapses and things like that with them, and I saw this little like clip ad. It wasn't necessarily an ad, but it was on Vimeo, and I watched this. It was called I got to think of the pier, Santa Monica Airlines or Santa Monica Airways. That's what it was called, and it was a shot of a drone at sunrise, what the drone was seeing, and it was flying low over the beach towards Santa Monica Pier, around, wraps it, raises up in front of this Ferris wheel as the sun's coming up, goes right through the Ferris wheel, then hooks up with the roller coaster tracks, starts following roller coaster tracks, and as the roller coaster turns, he just goes off, raises up, and it was just
wow, yeah.
And my mouth was agape, the whole time watching this, and I'm like, why am I not doing this?
What am I doing? Yeah.
And so I started to research a little bit more, and it just like I was bitten, like at that moment. And the cool thing about drones is having flown, the aerial camera systems and stuff like that with wires. Now I'm thinking, freedom! I can go anywhere. I don't need wires anymore. Yeah, exactly.
I just got to beat that battery. That's the only thing now. You're fighting the battery, not the wires.
It changes the whole game at that point.
It did. It was a complete game changer. And Game Changer was still very crude, but it was mind blowing because you were seeing things from angles that you never saw before. And so I got right into it. And
how many casualties?
Oh my God!
How many casualties of the drones? How many drones have you?
I've stopped counting.
You stopped counting? All right.
I really
oh boy!
Have you ever dove into the water to get it? Yep. You ever seen those?
Yeah.
Those are classic.
I didn't dive in.
Those are funny reels.
To get it from hitting the water, I dove in after it had gone into the water
because you wanted to get the chip.
Yeah. And that was a big thing. But I mean, if it depended. Back then, I've flown everything from, mostly DJI stuff, from the Phantom 1 all the way through everything that they have now. And back then, they were, believe it or not, pretty resilient. As long as you didn't crack the body in half or break a chip or something inside or an ESC or the flight controller, you could dunk these things in. As long as it was fresh water, pull it out, dry all the components out, and have it flying.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't, because there's no real voltage to fry anything. So when it goes in, I had one dump in early on into a stream right in Beacon where I live in New York. And the lights, I could see the lights on the battery and everything's still on in the water.
Oh, in the water.
And the props were slowly turning.
So why did it go down? Battery? So it's usually battery, right?
Tree.
Clip the tree.
Yeah, because at the time when I first
didn't
got
have
into
the sensors. It didn't have those. Now they have the sensors.
No obstacle.
Julio says it's like a video game with real consequences. That's what he's. That's our video guy.
Julio, you're exactly right, my friend. It is. Yeah, major consequences at times. It's now you feel like you're flying with a packed wallet up in the air.
No, it's true.
Yeah, just rain money.
I know you think when you're. I know that like when you get them, you're like, okay, well, I made enough money on this one. Like I don't want to say like we still have our first drone that we've had, and we're very, very because it's a major investment.
What do you find? I've seen a lot of your clips and great stuff.
We have a Phantom 4 Pro.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
great machine.
And it's great. It was funny because in the beginning, the first one we had, there were some issues with the focusing on it, and we looked, and it was a whole like issue that a bunch of them had. So we just returned it, got another one, and it's been great ever since. And that's been our one, and we've made a decent amount of money off of it.
Oh yeah.
But still, it's like you're always like, you know that it's going to happen at the worst possible time. You know what I mean?
There's never. I'm going to tell you right now, there's never a good time. But there's been enough instances where I've been fortunate in that I had one instance where we actually. We're working for a client. So most of my instances always happen off the clock, if you will.
Yeah.
And because I'm trying something new or, I always tell people that are flying, there's only one move that kills you, and it's the back fly. Because you will go in one direction, and then you want to come back, or you get in tight on something, and because of the width of the lens or whatever, you want to come back, and you start flying back. And then you hit a tree or you hit something else that you knew you flew around,
but you forgot. Reverse.
But then you start to come back because you're into the shot and
Yeah.
It's a wire you didn't see. I mean,
do you ever would use the glasses?
I've tried the goggles.
Yeah, what do you think about those?
It's a little too immersive for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, "Oh my God, you'd be so good at the drone racing leagues and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that."
right?
And then, I've tried them too, and it's a little bit. I'm doing a lot of this is just catch your breath.
Yeah, visual. You're not like
Beautiful stuff, slow
you go
your
play
heart
Call
rate.
of Duty if you want to do that, right?
Yeah,
you go
yeah.
do a couple tours in the
Yeah.
basement of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That'll get
Yeah. And the Drone Racing League, I think, is fantastic, and it's a really, really cool art, even if you will, but it's great skill set for these guys, and it's just not. It's they're
They're
two
more
totally
video
different
game
animals.
guys.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
more
yeah.
video game guys. I
Yeah,
think.
they're
And
not
you're more photography type
directors.
guy. Like
Yeah.
like director.
And some of them are
motion
getting
pictures.
more and more now with these the fast and the FPV flying and the stabilization software that's out there now for after.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see some of these, they're going down mountainsides. There was one clip of this guy following a rail car with one of these racing drones, and he's going in and out and all over because
Whoa.
their footprint's so small, and
Yeah.
and they're doing some really crazy cool stuff. And because of the stabilization software, they're able to smooth it out and make it very
Oh,
watchable.
yeah, that's cool.
And it's mind blowing. And it's like, well, you know what? There might be a reason to kind of get more into that because it involves speed. It's a smaller rig, and these things can go. I mean,
Yeah.
they can fly 75, 80 miles an hour.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, it is nuts.
How much do those things go for?
You know what? It's been a while since I've checked price points, but I know you're gonna start spending a couple grand.
Yeah.
Once it's like when they used to have the model or the remote control car racing and stuff like that. You get into that. And then before you know it, you're into this thing for $3,000.
Yeah,
and you're
right.
Like, what did I spend all this for?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that, and it's becoming more and more popular. I know ESPN had a drone racing league championships down.
I see it more and more on
Liberty State
TV.
Park. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's one in Vegas that's really cool. Like, they do it at night, and all the lights are on.
Oh,
and
that must be
throughout the
wild.
city?
I
Yeah.
haven't
It's
seen
wild.
that yet.
Yeah, throughout the city, it's crazy.
That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. Tell us about some of the movies that you've been on that you've throughout the years, because I'm sure there's been some great ones that you've shot.
Big movies. I've not done any super A-list stuff. I mean, I've worked on some stuff low on the totem pole, but nothing to do really with camera work. Recently, we've been doing a lot of these independent films and stuff like that. So it's there. I've done some opening shots, some really cool scenes for people that have contacted us. One of the most interesting series that we just did, my buddy and he's not kind of, he's my partner in crime when we do really big jobs for drones.
That's Aerial. Is that a separate...
my company used to be X Factor Aerial. Now it's SDS Imagery.
Okay.
The drone aspect of the company is 0 Point Aerial. And,
Okay.
So a buddy of mine, Pat McManus, who's a director I've worked with for a long time. I used to do Indy car racing with him, and he's an excellent director, and he directs actually American Ninja Warriors. If you've ever seen that show.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's his show.
Yep.
So he called me up 2 summers ago, and he said, "Hey, Scott, would you be able to, get a couple drone teams for this racing thing that we're going to be doing in upstate New York?" And I was, okay, sure. And that's the way, I would take stuff like, first call, things like that. Wow, sounds great. But once you're doing, something in your line of work for a while, you need to qualify it, and you want to know it's real before you get super pumped about it.
Sure, yeah.
And so I said, yeah, we could do that, Pat. It's not a problem. And he goes, all right, so just do me a favor, shoot me a quote for what it would be. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right. So I just put numbers down, and they were proper numbers, and sent him the email, and he said, okay, thanks. And I heard nothing for like another week and a half. And he sent me a text. He goes, hey, did you ever hear from those guys at Netflix? And I'm like, oh, you didn't tell me it was Netflix.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I didn't. He goes, all right, you're going to hear from them soon. And then I got a call like the next day, and we talked about it. So it was a really exciting project. It was a show called HyperDrive. It's on Netflix now.
Yep. Well, I think that was the thing that you shared, that you said that you've been working on it for a long, long time, and now it's so great to finally see it come.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And
nice.
So it was called HyperDrive, and we couldn't grasp the concept of this. And the best way to describe it is American Ninja Warriors meets Fast and Furious. And was this obstacle course that was designed at the old Kodak factory in Rochester, New York, for cars. So they invited 30 amateur drivers from all over the world, and they bring their own vehicles and they compete on this obstacle course. And it was, okay, let's see it. So we get up there, and they initially asked for 2 or 3 drone teams, and then like literally 3 weeks before, Pat was like, no, it's just you guys. And I'm like, okay. So we get up there, and we tied our feet into the truck, the broadcast truck, and I guess the executive producers were in there watching too. And once they saw us in the line cut and what we were able and capable of doing, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, because we shot every night from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for 18 days. So we were all night shoots for lighting. And so Pat goes, so Scott, can you get another drone team up here? I was like, it's 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Who's gonna answer the phone?
We'll make it happen. Well, oddly enough, they did. Well, so there were 3 of us up there on a team already. So all we did, we made some adjustments. I did all like the technical flying. This guy Parker, he was also a licensed pilot. He did all the cover shot flying in his zone, and so we worked it out. And then we had Todd deconflict our airspace so that 2 pilots could be gone, and we had a spotter for each one of us. So Todd was like the sky boss. Then we had, I probably do, I could show you pictures of our whole ground station set up. We had this big, huge table, twice the size of this, with a big, huge, like 55-inch monitor in front of us with all these different feeds. And it was great, because we had never really, this was a first kind of its thing show. And so we're trying to solve a problem, not necessarily a problem, but add something to it that people haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And by adding drones to it, and there were 2 spider cam systems there as well. So
nice.
I with telling you all that, just give episode 1 a watch. If you don't want to watch it further than that, I can't help you. But it's
so it's on Netflix.
It's
called, what is it called?
HyperDrive.
HyperDrive.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And it's a really it's been really well received, and we're hoping for seasons 2 and 3, but we haven't heard anything in a few months after it's been released. So
I can't wait to check it out. That's awesome.
They invested a lot of money, like millions.
Yeah.
There was a $2 million lighting budget on it. I could be off, but
but
it was a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I might be off because I'm not saying enough.
When
you see the show and you see all this stuff,
you'll understand why.
You'll understand why.
That's awesome. I'm excited to check it out. So we have a part of our show called Mac Move or Whack Move.
Okay.
Where we read topics that are somewhat business related.
Okay.
So would you like to join us for that?
I'd love to. It'd be
fun.
But
before we do that, I'd like to know, what is the best play, or let's say either play or moment in sports history that you feel that you've captured through your eyes?
Wow.
Because I know you've done Olympics.
Yeah.
You do the U.S. Open.
NFL.
It was.
Des caught it.
That's funny. No comment.
That's funny.
Oh,
that's a good one,
Good timing. I'm going to have to say it would have been an Olympic moment, and it was back in '96 when.
That was Atlanta?
Atlanta for gymnastics, and we had a phenomenal women's gymnastics team there, and so the whole coach carrying her around and through, it was a pretty surreal moment, and you're just kind of doing it. And I tell that to people a lot. Like, wow, that was pretty special, and you can't be duplicated. That's all the planets were aligned for that moment, and it happened, and you cover it. And as a camera operator, you don't know when something phenomenal is going to happen right in front of your eyes. So hopefully you have the mindset to either just stay with it and tell the story from your angle or whatever you can do, and it's not a matter of thinking, oh, I can't wait because I know what I just shot is going to go viral. You don't think that way. And that's not what's motivating you. Once you kind of get into that mindset of shooting and capturing things, it's about, we're all storytellers to a degree, And it's about being able to tell the story for that moment at that time the best that you can with whatever it is that you have.
Yeah.
And whether it's your voice, your memory, and then putting that on paper. I mean, there's so many different levels of storytelling, and the visual aspect of storytelling is, you know, a lot of our strong suits. So, you know, it's, you know, how many times do you, you know, as you become a professional, or you become very proficient at what you do as far as shooting, and then, you know, we're exposed to all of this content on social media and things like that, and people capturing these pretty important moments, but they're all over the place with the camera. You're like, just stay there.
Still, what are you doing?
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
No, don't drop the phone. Or you see that just something happened, and as soon as the event stops, the phone drops
just
and
immediately
they take off.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, no, part of it's the
you need the ending.
the end story. Yeah, I want to know, what's going on. Bring it with you. But
that's funny.
It's a whole different thing out there. You know, where there's now. I mean, I know we want to play this game, but it's a tough thing. I mean, I probably have, if I really sat. I'm not saying you blindsided me with that question, but I would definitely say that's the first one that comes to mind. But I know there's others in my archives that I was pretty proud of. And you know, just like, wow, okay, that was a cool play. And
well, I'll tell you what.
Later on replays, you know, if we shoot a game, you know, a lot of the camera operators, if we're doing NFL or something, you know, we had a day game, and then we're hanging around the bar at night, and ESPN's,
there's your shot.
Highlight package. I did.
Yeah.
Whoa, I got
It's
that.
funny because you get that feeling when you're at a game, let alone you're shooting it. So like when you go to a game and you're watching it, it's still different when you're looking at it through the lens, and then you see it after. I can only imagine, you know, when you're looking through the lens, you know, what that's like, because you get that feeling anyway, you know. Well,
you do, and I will say I've been desensitized to a degree over the years. You know, a lot of people say you're a big fan. I said I am a big fan of sports, you know, and I love covering sports.
Yep.
And they say, well, what's your favorite? And I love baseball.
Yep.
I can't stand shooting it.
Yeah.
I will tell everybody that, and they're like, I can't believe that. And I'm like, believe it. It's you know, a hurry up and wait contest. You know,
which is different than the forced action of football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was funny, because I was going to reference back to baseball about how you just hurry up and wait versus forced action every time you hike the ball.
And it's like, you know, a funny expression that has come out of my career and through a lot of my peers is root for the clock.
Yeah.
Any sport that has a clock on it, you're like,
let's
pan,
go.
tilt,
Let's go.
invoice.
Yeah,
let's go.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. You get desensitized, you know, when you're seeing the same stuff, not the same game, you know, but similarities to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it like baseball is a great example, because you get there, if you have to set up that day, or if it's no homestand, or if it's like a one-off game, get there early, you set up, you shoot the game, and you're there at like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. You set up the games at, you know, 7 that night. So you set, then you shoot, and you think you're like in the 5th or 6th inning, and you look up and you're bottom of the 3rd.
Yeah.
And it's tied. And here comes a nice 2-hour rain delay.
Yeah, right.
And then the rain stops.
Yeah, at least you know
back.
with football, it's relatively, okay, well, there could be an overtimer with college football, a few overtimes, but you still have that window, you know, where you know it's going to be, you know.
College overtime, one of the most confusing overtimes.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny. I think I finally figured it out just recently.
I'm glad you have. When you get a chance, explain it to me.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
And then real quick, before we do Mac Move or Whack Move, tell us a little bit about this Emmy. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been shooting the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Because I think that's awesome. I saw the whole. I saw the post that, you know. I guess your wife had a whole.
My girlfriend. Yes,
your girlfriend had a whole setup for you for when you walked in. That was cool.
She's amazing. I knew basically when I was getting it, because you had to order it. So we this year, when a lot of the technicians arrived at the Open, we started working. There was a buzz, you know, hey, they won an Emmy last year, and I'm like, well, if they won an Emmy, we won an Emmy.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, yeah, that seems to be, you know, the rumor. So as the buzz started escalating, and then we finally all got an email. Yes, you all have won an Emmy.
Nice.
And we're getting a plaque for everybody that got it, and it's a technical Emmy, which is sometimes more difficult than the Emmy. There's lots of different categories for Emmy awards, but Yeah, so we won this technical Emmy, and everybody that was on the list got an Emmy. So you had to go. They gave you a code, and you go on to the website to order your statue.
That's funny.
And so I put it in, and then it brings up your history. And there was 5 other nominations that I was never even aware of.
Oh wow!
Damn.
Yeah, so I ordered.
Bonus.
Obviously, I didn't win them.
But still, you would like to know.
Yeah,
Emmy nominated.
Yeah, being nominated was pretty cool.
5-time Emmy nominated.
So I printed out the certificates, or I ordered the certificates for printout, and then when they give you a date when it's going to be shipped, and having being away for college football every weekend, it got shipped in obviously the day I left, so it was sitting at home all week, and I'm like, oh, I just want to see this thing.
Yeah, see what it is. Yeah.
And I told Tammy, I said, don't open it. She goes, I would never. And so when I got home, I always take the first flight home, so it was still, and you don't sleep from Saturday night, or we have that night game on the ACC network, and so I take a 6 a.m. flight out if I can. And this year it's been the North Carolina tour. Every school is right there, so it's good because it's a short flight home.
Yeah, it's quick.
But I get out and I drive and I get home, and I'm still pretty whacked from not really slept, and I walk in and she's got the box on the table and breakfast all set out and mimosas, and I'm like, oh my God, you are too much. So
that's awesome.
Just sat there and really kind of enjoyed the moment.
It's funny too, to know how you got it, to know that you didn't know the year before that they got it, and then there's all this buzz.
Yeah.
And then when you go and you look, and you've been nominated 5 other times, but you just didn't know, because
shocking.
It never probably comes down to the technical people. It's always the people at the top. Oh, hey, we're nominated. And it never probably trickles down.
And I always, and you're right. And I always felt like there was this one instance we were doing the Belmont. So it was, I want to say was it Funny Side? I can't remember the horse that was up for the first Triple Crown in the longest period of time. And it's happened since this time I was talking about, which is probably 15 years ago. And we were at the Belmont. It was the race if he won Triple Crown, All we had to do was shoot that day, and we're shooting for an Emmy. It's happening. As long as there's no major technical gaffes, this is an Emmy show, because it's something that doesn't happen often. So one of our buddies and coworkers, longtime great camera operator, phenomenal, gives a speech. It was pouring rain out that day, and he goes, water raises ships. Don't look down on it. Just shoot. We're going to be rewarded. Yeah. And he was beat in the last quarter length by, and it just, I always felt like that I won't see this again. I was so upset because we all heard that kind of, and it was like, all he's got to do is win the race and we're good.
Yeah.
And he literally lost it in the last quarter to a pro jockey on a 70-1 odd horse.
Yeah.
It was
that's
nuts.
always how all those happened with whenever that was happening. When they got the 2 legs done and the third one, it was always something crazy that happened or something. You know what I mean? So
you probably don't your goal isn't to win an Emmy, but being recognized for that.
It's pretty special.
Yeah, you don't go into video production because you want to win an Emmy.
No,
but when you do get that recognition, I can't imagine what that feeling is.
It's I'll tell you, it's still sinking in. I mean, a lot of people have congratulated me, see me after the fact, and say, "Hey, I heard you won an Emmy," and oh yeah, thank you. And it's not, and my cousin, God bless David, he's so funny. He right on Facebook, he goes, sounds like your rate's going up. And I'm no,
that's true.
I laughed at it, but it's pretty funny. But it's, to me, it's the recognition. It's not it's not something I use to market. I'm passionate about what I do. I enjoy it. I love it. I like to grow with technology. And do things that people enjoy watching, and try and share as much of it as I can. So it's more, hey, if I get recognized for that, good for me.
Yeah.
But it's, as you said, it's never my goal. I mean, you can't help but to watch award shows and things like that and be like, man, will it ever happen?
But it's like what you just said, though. It kind of goes similar to, to not really recognizing the stuff that's happening as it's happening. You see it after the fact. That's kind of like what your career has kind of been like, and you get, and then that's what this is. It's recognition, of that,
sure,
what I mean, of all that hard work and stuff that you didn't see in the moment, but now you're seeing it from.
And that is on the adverse effect as well, because there's so many times I shoot something and then I'll see the replay, or oh man, I wish I could have shot that differently. It was done.
Yeah.
It's over. No
I can
recapturing
imagine.
that.
Yeah, right.
So there's just as many of those feelings, not necessarily a failure or defeat, but
Could have
I
made
wish
it a little bit better.
yeah,
but that's
I wish
also
I
the
coulda-
artist inside of you. You know what I mean? So
I mean, a lot of people say that too. Is it an art? You know what? It's awareness. It's really, I guess there's a certain amount of artistry that goes in with composition and stuff like that. And I didn't realize that how much being in television and that composition for a live event had geared me towards, getting back into photography. And kind of when I put the drones up in the air and seeing all these new angles, all I was doing was hit record on video, and I never really would click off on the photo aspect of it. And something clicked in me one day, no pun intended, but I was like, grabbing a video frame of this scene is not a photo. It's not as good. The data is so different. You can't. And I always felt like I was doing a disservice. So now I got two heads, going on when I'm flying, and it's like one sees a fantastic photo frame as I'm flying and recording video, and I'm like, oh, the only way I could get that is I got to complete my shot.
Yeah.
And then remember to go back and go through that same spot again, or vice versa. And I see a still. Oh, what a great way!
And these are some of the shots that we see on your Facebook.
Yeah. And right? I get a lot of therapy out of that too. So a lot of times, if I just need to get out there and do it, and then I never know what I'm going to end up with. And
the money shot. Yep.
And I've come back at times and thought, it's kind of a meh day,
Yeah.
And I look through stuff and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I grabbed that, or I caught this. And so, but you just, no matter what the weather is, what the day's conditions are, you might have a different design for what you're going out to get. And I love chasing fog. It's like one of my favorite things to do. And there's been times that I've gone out, and I'll have to leave you with some of the links of this stuff. And I've gone out and was thoroughly disappointed when I arrived because there was no fog. And then just because I was there and was patient, it happened like right in front of me. And then it's like, all right, document, grab as much as you can. And then when I look back at it, I was like, I can't believe I just witnessed that, because it's surreal. You don't, you feel defeated when you get there because it's like clear. You can see stars, the sun's breaking, and then. It was funny. It's the one lighthouse video that I'm thinking about right now that prompts that story. And when I edited the piece together, it's how crisp and clean and clear it looked, and then how all this fog rolls in. And it was just an amazing display of Mother Nature and just atmosphere changes and everything, all within like a 90-minute period.
It's funny because that's one of the things that I noticed from a lot of your stuff is Mother Nature.
Yeah,
that's what I see with a lot of those stills that you put out with the fog and around the ships and around the lighthouse and
it's again, it's just these places that you go and at times of day where it's nobody's out there. I mean, it's you and whatever you're looking at, and it's very therapeutic, and it's just you do what you want at that point. And a lot of people watch that fog video. It's like, how do you know the fog was going to be there? And I'm like, it's a lighthouse.
Yeah.
That's why it was put there, because fog frequents at lighthouses, so it steers ships to the channel. So
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. Well, hey, listen, thank you so much for coming on and telling your story. We're gonna run into our favorite part of the show right now, where we read off a couple of topics. You got a sign over there.
I do.
If you like it, it's a whack move. If you think that it's a whack move, it's a whack move. If you like it and you think that it's a Mack move, then you hold up the Mack move. So we kept it very light here for you. No hot button political issues.
Do I need to hold it in a certain spot? Okay.
It's right over there.
Okay,
yep,
gotcha.
There you go.
Gotcha.
So, Chase.
All right, guys. We got our first topic here. Now, I don't know how you feel about this man, but he's definitely making a lot of moves, in the fashion industry, in the music industry. Kanye West. So right now, a lot of his manufacturing for his brands, his clothing companies are in scattered throughout the world. They're in China. They're somewhere in Asia. So he's vowing to move Yeezys or his brand's manufacturing arm to the U.S. And so that's the question: Mack move or whack move? Kanye West vowing to move Yeezys manufacturing to the U.S.
I think it's a Mack move because that's obviously good for the country. But I don't think it's feasible. I don't think it's feasibly possible if he wants to make any money.
I would agree with you that it's a Mack move, but I think the feasibility of it's
going to be really tough.
Certainly too, but I mean, part of it leans towards is he doing this for? Yeah. Popular.
Well, that's what it is.
Popular support.
Kanye 2024.
Just to get into the news.
Yeah.
Or
that's what I think it is that he's setting himself up for a political career.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's going to be funny.
Wow.
He doesn't get either vote.
Let's
he
just
can't
say
take the Democrat or the Republican
I
vote.
hope if he ever takes any form of office of any kind, I'm not around.
What do you got, Chase?
He's it's a Mack move because it's moving stuff to the U.S. But what it seems like to me is that he's like filling the holes where other candidates would be attacking him. Mm-hmm. So like, oh, why would you vote for Kanye when he's got his Yeezys being made in China, who we're in a trade war with? So anyway, that's Kanye West. He's an eccentric guy, and
that's a great.
But ultimately,
great way to describe him.
Yeah,
eccentric is good color.
Yeah, I mean you can't control that guy.
All right, topic number 2.
Topic number 2. This is hot news right now. Also kind of related because it's in the family. Kylie Jenner sells 51%, which is majority stake, in her cosmetics brand, which I think is just called Kylie. And she sells it to Coty, which is a cosmetics brand company.
Okay.
Right? And so it's for $600 million she sells it.
I didn't even know. Like, I knew she was worth a shitload of money, but I didn't even know for what. Like, I had no idea what it was for. I knew she was worth a lot of money. Yeah, I knew she was a billionaire.
Well, so kudos to him. I mean, you're looking this stuff up. I would have no idea.
So
I could explain it. Yeah.
So she creates makeup products. Like, that's her business line?
Yeah, the most popular on the planet. Like the Ford, you know what I mean? She's like the Ford of makeup products, which is why it's so insane, and that's why I like it and I support it, because it's like it doesn't seem to have been given to her. Yes, she had the money to like start it up, but really it's all based upon her branding moves and her acquisitions and like all.
Your dad she's becoming a man. No,
I mean a
woman. I mean a woman. That's what it was. That was the trick. That was the secret behind it.
But why would she? Okay, here's the other way of looking at it. Is like, why would you sell? Your company's doing so well and has a huge future. Why would you sell 51% of it for $600 million cash? Like,
I don't know. I mean, the kid's making a name for herself, so I give her credit. Mack move. I understand she's riding the coattails of her family, but I'm gonna go whack move. I'm Mack move. Sorry,
Mack move.
Yeah, and I'd say the same thing. It's a Mack move because you know what? You sell that, you're the recipient of that.
You're obviously doing something right.
And what's wrong with making money? I think
Chase
is business.
Chase is hung up on the 51%, right?
Because you give up your controlling. Yeah.
So I think there's a clause in the contract that says that she can still make creative. She's still like the creative director for the company.
Yeah.
But she's not just a face. She's actually involved in the creative. Okay.
Yeah, but I would just say it's a whack move because it's almost like she's giving away, not giving it away because they're giving her money for it, but it's her empire that she's now like piecing out to people.
I gotcha.
And I don't know. I would just consolidate it and keep it. It's your legacy. It's your empire.
Got you. That's Kylie Jenner, and that is topic number 2. Topic number 3.
I hope it's made in the U.S. too.
This one is very interesting.
Oh yeah.
Then I switched to Mack move.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. Go ahead, Chase. Topic 3.
All right. So Uber's being sued for misclassifying workers as contractors, right? Yep. And not employees. So there's a lot of people talking out there right now that Uber's going to be broken up as a company because it's all founded on this idea that their workers are contractors and not employees. And if that is found to be a lot like not true, they're in some deep shit.
There's a certain Greek fella that owns a pizza place in Bethel that makes the best fried mozzarella sticks. Fresh. beautiful. They're unbelievable.
Handmade.
And this man made a hot take the other day and told me Uber will be out of business in 2 years because of this.
Wow. Well,
that's a extra hot take. He even went as far as to say short him. That's what he said.
I got to tell you. I mean, this is an interesting topic, and I am.
You understand because you are a subcontractor, so
Yeah.
you really understand this because you work as subcontractors for a lot of stuff
everybody,
that you do.
For most of my clients,
Yeah.
You're not ever hired as an employee unless you meet an hour requirement. Like if I'm working at the garden and
You're there same location.
I meet like I forget what the terms are for it now, but like 700 hours in a year, then you get your health benefits and things like that through them, and you're more of an employee status, but probably still on a contractor basis because you're not. It's still a different hiring category.
Yeah,
and like networks switched to that years ago. I mean, everybody thinks, if I work for ESPN, oh, you work for ESPN. Yeah, I work for ESPN.
Yeah, but I don't.
They're a client,
yeah.
And I am a contractor because if you can imagine, even as big as Disney is, and with all the employees they do have, if you can imagine a network trying to employ 80 to 100 people on every football game that's out there year round.
Yeah.
And all the events that they cover, the only employees really exist in Bristol in the studio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're full-time employees. And even some of them are probably contractors that just fill holes here and there. But this is an interesting topic.
Really interesting.
With
Uber. It's going to be
sticky. And
it's going to be state by state is what it's going to be, I think.
But so was the argument?
It's real. This is why it's really bad, is because they're avoiding paying $9.50 an hour plus benefits to all these people by classifying them as that.
All right, but
so it's dishonest. I mean, in a way.
Look at that from a standpoint of being a waitress or a server. Okay, you make a minimum wage because you're getting a lot of your income off of the tips that you generate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
They can shut the tips down if they want, or they can keep the money for the tips also. I mean, I don't think it's going to put them out of business. It's definitely going to screw up their model.
It's too
big to fail.
Yeah, I kind of think that, and I'm as much as I love technology, you guys will appreciate this, especially as this way our conversation has evolved today.
Yeah,
Uber was one of the last things I was willing to accept, and now I love it.
You're in it. Yeah.
This year we get typically on our shows we get one rental car, and if I'm not the first one in, I don't have it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'm Ubering from the airport to the hotel, and then once we all hook up as a crew, as far as Omnicam's concerned, we share one car. Yeah. And so it's not a big deal not having a car. I mean, years ago I hated not having a rental car. So most of the time I would have one, but now you just kind of adapt, and it's just part of the process. So I never really Ubered before until this season, and I love it. It's like I'm doing this, and I'm watching the cars arriving. It's showing me right, and it'll be here in 2 minutes, and I've literally timed it where I've been in my hotel room, come down the elevator, walk out, and he's pulling up. I get in, we're off. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. And all these airports have adopted to prearranged pickup services, which means Uber or Lyft or whatever the other companies are out there, and it's amazing. I mean, and it's all GPS. It's concept great because I hate cabs. I hate them.
Yep.
And I said that's a game changer. That I love seeing more Ubers out there than I do yellow checkered or anything like that.
Yep.
But I guess I wouldn't even. I wouldn't.
So my
think
whole
about
thing is
that
this. Here's the thing that I would say. A lot of these guys, they drive for Lyft and they drive for Uber, and guess what? That makes them a subcontractor.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's sticky. I like Uber. I think Uber is cool. I'm down with Uber. I don't like how they're trying to deliver food and DoorDash. I'm not down with that. I think that hurts the small business. I think that also you don't really know that. I don't want somebody that's picking up my food and dropping off my food to not be affiliated with the restaurant, because I feel the restaurant can vet those people and the restaurant trusts those people for them to be there. When it's an Uber, I don't really give a shit. The guy's a car. He's dropping me off. He doesn't have food. It's just the purpose of dropping me off.
Right.
So that's why I'm not really.
Is it more of because of what is arriving for you? You feel like could be tampered with?
Yes.
And I thought the same thing.
Yes.
And I was guilty of trying DoorDash and things like that. But when I got the bag, it was all sealed.
Oh, it was all sealed.
All sealed with
Is there a pin? Is there a pin with a little lock?
Yeah, it comes in a steel suitcase. Here, just return it. No, but it was sealed, so it really it couldn't.
All right, because I'm just saying, if I ordered a 20-piece of nuggets, don't be showing up with 18. Don't be. I'm counting them.
He's sneaking a couple nuggets in there.
I'm counting them. Don't be sneaking my nuggets.
The red light comes on and he snags a nugget out of there.
There have been times where it has been convenient. Where I didn't have the rental car or someone else had it, and if I'm going to eat, I either go down to the hotel restaurant, which maybe I wasn't a fan of. I just want to hang out in the room or whatever. I mean, it's a specific situation. I'm not just doing it all the time because I don't want to go out.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I will buy online, but I'd prefer to go to the store and put the thing in my hands and walk out with it that day and not wait for the shipping.
But sometimes when you travel, you don't, you're stuck traveling
there's,
and stuff.
There's two sides to it. But I mean, I look at that as everything's becoming this process, right? I mean, you go to Walmart. You're, self-checkout. How many jobs is that eliminated?
Yeah, you're right.
When you go there. And while I understand that.
People don't even go to Walmart anymore. They just order it and have it come through Amazon.
That's true, too. I mean, you look at, not necessarily in the state of Connecticut, but certainly in New York, all our tolls are being eliminated because of Easy Pass and these toll workers. I mean, I live in Beacon, and the Newburgh Beacon Bridge's tolls are slated to be removed very soon, and there will be no tolls there anymore. I mean, you're still getting charged.
Yeah, but they're the
there's
electronic.
no toll workers. And so you think about all these automated systems that are being developed to help, obviously, store volume, because you look at it like, all right, if there's 10 self-scan checkouts at wherever you are, is that 10 cashiers that you're really eliminating? Because I don't think they would have 10 more rows of cashiers.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So it might be eliminating 2 or 3 jobs, but not 10. But it's still eliminating, and that's the scary part. So it comes back. So now you're creating DoorDash. You're creating opportunity for other people that wouldn't normally have something. So now they're able to go and get and bring your food as a delivery or a courier service. This is what I look like as an electronic courier.
Yeah.
And now it's everywhere.
Yep.
So getting back to your point in the story or the question.
I'm gonna go whack move. Like, can the government do something with Amazon? Like, maybe the government should look at what Amazon is doing and stop. You know what I mean? Like, I don't foresee this being because of the fact that it's not your full-time job. You want to work for a couple of hours.
It's a gig.
You want to, it's a gig
job.
economy job.
Yeah,
and
that's what a lot of people.
And I feel that there's going to be major problems with the things that you were just mentioning and the things that people are setting up. But always, though, this is how it goes. Let's set it up. Let you set it up, and then we'll change the rules, or then we'll tell you.
Yeah.
Once you get too big, now we'll say it.
We
didn't give a
yet
shit about
to
it for
adapt.
years.
Yeah, we've yet to adapt the laws.
So I'm going to say
someone wants a piece of their pie.
But
that's what it is.
I'm on the side of
the
side of the company, though. I'm on the side of Uber. I want them to succeed. And keep.
So then you're going whack move.
So I'm going on the lawsuit. I'm going whack move on the lawsuit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm definitely whack move on the lawsuit because I think, someone comes up with a great idea, you don't be the guy that I feel like I'm left out in the cold and I got to figure out a way.
Exactly.
To steal.
But that guy always.
No, the same thing.
They exist everywhere.
Yeah, that guy always comes out
with websites. With websites right now. So the ADA compliant, if you have a retail location in the same way that you need a ramp for a handicapped person to get in, you need a handicapped person to be able to see your website too. But see, it's not going to become law until somebody sues the shit out of somebody for it.
Oh,
and
that's a good point.
When it becomes, and that's what I'd have a problem with. Why do you have to wait for the lawsuit to come in before you then adjust what it is?
Isn't that's what the tobacco companies did? Though?
Yeah, and that's
we're going to keep pushing this off,
even
though they knew what they were doing.
They knew.
Wasn't really right.
Yeah,
but that's why it was so hard fought, because they said the minute any lawsuit is successful, we're all going down. Doesn't matter what tobacco company you are. Everybody's in trouble with this.
Yep.
And rightfully so. So there's, I guess in a way, there's good to have that, know that 800-pound gorilla is in the room always watching, and eventually someone's going to notice it. But can be equally as frustrating too, because But it's all checks and balances when it comes down, comes out in the wash.
So next topic, this is for the Sony guy. So go ahead. We got a Sony topic here. Go ahead.
All right. So Sony is buying AT&T's stake in the Game Show Network. Basically, this is the Mac move or whack move, right? Okay, first, the acquisition of the Game Show Network, that's the real Mac move or whack move. But really what you're voting on is, do you think that...
My mom watches it 24/7.
Moving forward, do you think that moving forward, like, game shows are going to still be a big part of our viewership? Like they have a future? Because that's what Sony's betting on. The Game Show Network has shows like Deal or No Deal, Cash Cab. None of the big ones, which I'm surprised about. They don't have like Jeopardy or
because Jeopardy's still being produced is most likely
it's
why.
usually the ones that are
so
off.
These are a lot of these are syndicated too that they show. Not necessarily syndicated, but they're older shows, things from like Match Game and Joker's Wild and things like that.
Yeah.
So you can find a lot of these older shows. I don't know what does Game Show, forgive me for being so in the dark about this one, do they have original programming? Is there anything
they're going to
on
be
the
creating, it says that they're going to be, the acquisition allows us to work more closely with the company's talented team to deliver the best iconic game shows.
Yeah. So they're
and
going
then to also create new game shows as well.
Yeah.
So based upon that, I'm going to go Mac move because that falls right in line with reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come up with creative ways. I mean, listen, when you tell me that you've got The Rock hosting a freaking game show, right? That's what tells me that there's money in it and there's people that are still interested in it. And you know, they got the one with the costume on their head where it's a celebrity doing the karaoke.
Oh, I haven't seen
that
that
or
one.
something?
I haven't watched it either, but
The
it's
Masked
just
Singer.
Yeah, but it's super popular.
I
And they've
love-
got serious judges
I've heard
on
about
there.
it, so obviously it's popular.
There's something feel good about those shows that I really love. I love the mini golf one right now. I
love
that
one.
that
That's
show.
pretty
Like
good.
it's on between the NFL games or after the NFL
It's
games,
entertaining.
and I
It is
love it. I
entertaining.
love it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Mac move.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go Mac move. I think it's smart. I mean, it's when you think about it, Sony's got. What can you even put a number on what Sony's net worth is?
Yeah.
I mean, they got deep pockets, and like throwing money into a network like this to make money with it, it's like handing me $10.
Plus, everybody
it's nothing to
the other
them.
thing that we always talk about too is that people love vintage.
Mm-hmm.
People love vintage. Shit just cannot go away. Shows go away, they come back.
Yeah.
Like everybody wants that vintage. Those vintage hitters.
Yeah. Everybody wants the vintage shows.
Yeah, I mean, and even in movies, I mean, you got
Same thing.
Definitely.
old movies,
Remakings.
and that's what disappoints me in Hollywood is all right, come on, there's enough thought out there to come up with something new and creative. Yet I can understand, a classic movie that was attempted to be remade, and in very rare circumstances. And I'll throw back a question to each of you.
Yeah.
In for the movie aspect of things, I have two examples I can give. I think the worst remake of a movie ever. And it was just so forced and so horrible. And just because you attach a couple good actors to it doesn't mean it's going to be a success. The name carried its remake more than the content.
I think I can guess which movie you're talking about.
Bad News Bears
Bad News Bears?
remake.
Bad News Bears.
I was such a
Okay,
fan of the original.
I was way off.
So hilarious.
I said
such
Godzilla.
Genius. Oh, but that's been remade like what? Which remake? I mean, like 30 of them, right?
All of them.
And then a good remake, I thought very classy, was Arthur. With Brands.
It's funny because they made a few of those.
Yeah.
There was it was a series, wasn't it?
No,
like
I don't know. Well, the Arthur with Dudley Moore.
Yeah.
And that movie was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I thought the remake is going to be really bad. And they turned it around a little bit. It made it a little bit more modern day. And
they did it with
Russell Brands. Russell Brands was the guy who played Arthur.
Okay.
The whole drunk. It was very believable, and it was very, I thought, well done and very hip in now, and,
Yep.
and they refreshed it enough to where I'm like, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like trying to watch that Bad News Bears remake was like, there were some lines that were recited. So Billy Bob Thornton was playing the Walter Matthau role, and I was like, well, this couldn't have been cast any worse than this. And not that I don't like Billy Bob Thornton, but this was not for him.
Yeah.
And it just was. All right, so
was a classic.
those are mine.
Yeah,
those
yeah.
are mine.
No, it was a
so
it was a
what's
classic.
yours? What's one of your? And you might not. I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't know. I mean, part of me wants Rocky to just stop making Rambos. Like, just stop it, Rocky. But that's not really a remake. You know what I mean? It's not really a remake.
It's a continuation.
I'm going to go with how they tried to redo Dirty Dancing.
They did?
I don't know. Did they? I figure I'd take a shot at it.
No.
Not
Sure
yet.
they did?
I don't know. I haven't, maybe they did and it's terrible, but like I don't know.
Do you? I know, and this isn't a jab. You're young.
He
But do
likes
you have
old movies, though.
Do you have old movie and a remake that
Put
you
it this
loved?
way.
The
This
Mechanic,
Good example.
fantastic movie back in the day. One of my favorite movies from when I was a kid, and they
absolutely.
remade it, and it's horrible with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you couldn't
I,
have remade this worse.
I agree with that. Oh, we have a shout out.
That was
Yeah.
a deep shot from that. Yeah,
You like
was-
that?
yeah.
I feel like that was a.
You need a
was dime
super
piece.
zoom. You needed a super zoom lens to get that one. He was like Steph Curry territory. He shot that one from deep.
No, I'm a huge.
Oh,
My
Mechanic.
dad used to sit me down and he was like, "You're gonna watch these movies with
Yeah,
me
he knows
because
a lot of old
you
school
need
stuff.
to know.
Oh, that's
you
great.
need to
Yeah.
know." And same with music too.
He loves Top Gun, so that's going to be a big.
I do
big
love Top
thing.
Gun.
That's his
I do
favorite
love Top
movie.
Gun.
So,
I'm looking forward to that remake.
Top Gun is up
Yeah.
there for me.
Let's see.
And I know
see,
that's corny and cheesy, but like,
But that's a part, kind of almost like a part two. They're not remaking.
it's a part two.
Yeah.
Is it? It's not a prequel.
No,
right?
it's a sequel. It's after all the events.
Because that's
Yeah.
another thing that's come real popular
yeah,
is
that.
prequels, and I like Rogue One. I thought was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that was
thought-
the best one.
I thought that was
Don't you think?
absolutely great. Best one's tough for me because I'm grew up with Star Wars. And
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
not
oh.
the best Star
Oh,
Wars. The best
prequel.
the best prequel and the best like sequel, because the original is what I say is that's Star Wars, right? The
Yeah.
original 3 movies. Mm-hmm. And then everything after that is what I call a remake.
And it's
or,
so out
you
of
know,
order. It started out
Makes
with,
no sense.
like episode 7 as one, and
Yeah.
so
Makes
that's why
zero-
they had
zero
to go
sense.
backwards.
The whole
and-
story behind how they made that movie and everything, you know the whole story behind the Star Wars, right?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
about how people were like, this has turned into a nightmare. Like they were just like going to,
Mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the shit was just falling apart left and right.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really have any. He like tore it up and rewrote it like 6 times, like all this crazy stuff about it, and then it
Yeah.
turns out to be the biggest.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was based on Western movies and the Japanese movie.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a whole
Samurai.
synopsis too about Star Wars and the whole theme of it, and how it, like, the Force is it has to do with our everyday lives, and there was a real message that was being sent in the books. And 2 of my buddies that I work with, they went on this back and forth dialogue about all this, and it was at lunch. It was at the U.S. Open. We're on break, and
Yeah.
we're sitting there, and I'm listening to these guys, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Are you really this Earth? Are you here?"
Yeah.
But what it was, I wish I could quote some of it. I don't remember all of it, but it was fascinating to listen to, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even like so out there.
Yeah.
It made sense, and you're like, I had no idea. I just watching it because I thought it was cool. And
Yeah.
lightsaber. And
Yeah, right.
definitely.
That deep mental stuff behind it. I know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
as you guys are watching, it's like a Zen moment. So
Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap us up. I know we had one more topic, but we're going to skip it because I got a 12:30 appointment.
True.
And I want to talk to Scott for a little bit afterwards.
True.
So we are going to have to wrap this baby up. Scott,
hey, it's been fun.
had a great time,
oh my
man.
God,
It
yeah.
was awesome.
I don't
we
know
could go.
what to
We
ex-
could keep
we
going
probably
and going.
could
We
bore
could.
everybody to death.
Yeah,
for the rest of
we
the day,
could.
right?
Yeah.
But
Chase,
it was fun.
go ahead and give everybody all Scott's information, all his website, all of that.
Scott, just so that I don't mess things up, actually, I'm gonna have you give your information.
Okay,
I'm gonna give ours real quick.
Sure.
So we're so thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. It's at MACK Talks. Go to our website www.themacktalks.com to see all of our content, and also leave us a review on iTunes. And go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. To watch any of my stuff or some of my content, it's not updated as often as I would like, but you can go to my website. It's sdsimagery.com. You can also get in touch with me there via email, which is scott@sdsimagery.com. I don't do weddings or bar mitzvahs.
Yeah, I love it. That's so funny. Awesome, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to, we finally were able to meet now.
Yes.
So I look forward to, to growing with you and to see what you got, see what you got going on.
It'd be fun.
Go from there.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.